Hey traders, Marcello here, founder of the Day Trading Academy. Today we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. We have the amazing jobs report that came out, which is not a good thing for you and I because they're going to hurt us when it comes to the interest rates. And literally just a few hours ago, a war broke out in the Middle East. Let's go ahead and get started. Biggest news of the week is the jobs report, which absolutely decimated expectations. It was non-farm payrolls. I'm looking at the number here, 336,000 for the month, better than the consensus of 170,000, which means that it was more than double, almost 3 times what the expectation was. Now, this is an indication for the central bank that the economy is doing well, because if so many jobs are opening, that means that the businesses are booming, right? Central banks look at a lot of archaic data. They don't really pay attention to what's happening, in my opinion, of what's happening in the economy. So this is a really bad problem for you and I, because if these reports are that good, decimating what the expectations are, that means that they're a lot more likely to either raise rates or leave rates a lot higher and for longer. Now, that's very bad for you and I, because obviously everything now has been financialized since the 2008, 2009 crisis. So the higher interest rates are, the more expensive absolutely everything is, right? So it's going to be a lot harder for you to buy a car, to buy a house. Your credit card debt is going to go up, or has been going up. Oil now has been going up for quite a bit, right? Our gas prices have doubled or tripled. And we even have a situation where I was watching this video on TikTok where a guy was comparing the prices, not TikTok, Instagram. I'm not that young. And he was comparing the prices, and they tell us that the interest rate, the inflation is 4%, 3%, 5%, it got as high as 7 or 8. And this, remember, are the numbers that they changed the calculation of twice, right? And the actual difference in prices is about 75%. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the burger story again. I laid that joke on you. For some of you guys are new, you guys will hear it eventually. But I thought it was really interesting because the wage increases, the numbers came out, they were 4.2% from a year ago. So your food has gone up about 75%. Everything else in your life has probably gone up maybe 30 to 50%, but your wages has only gone up 4%. You see how the system is literally designed to have you fail. So if you haven't already, you better start that side hustle, whether it's trading or YouTube or OnlyFans. Guys got that booty too. And because it's going to get a lot worse. The markets in the United States were mostly positive, except for the Dow, which was the only one that was negative. Canada was lower as well. International markets, the European markets, looking through here, they were mostly lower. Spain was the biggest loser there. Latin America, mostly lower as well, outside of Argentina, almost 12% positive. And then in the Middle East and Africa, we have Saudi Arabia, almost 3% negative, the most of all. And then in the far east, Asia, Australia, that area, most markets are mixed, with the Nikkei in Japan being the most negative of all. Bitcoin and crypto, not a whole lot of news this week. It seems kind of all the crypto stuff has kind of died down ever since the boom and bust of the market. Binance, which is still the largest crypto exchange in the world, has been having a 7-month consecutive drop in monthly trading volumes. In addition to that, their actual volume is the lowest since October 2020. And a judge restricted the bid from the SEC, which is the regulatory body that governs, stocks and other things, financial markets in the United States, to re-review the XRP Ripple case, and they actually denied the re-review. Bitcoin is higher this week, 3.84% positive, almost 28,000, just a touch under 28,000. That's as of Saturday morning, by the way, because it's so volatile. It can change literally when I record the video. Commodities, oil is down the biggest over the year. Early signals demand that since the markets, a lot of people are expecting the demand of the markets to go down, especially with the recession incoming and consumers getting eaten alive. So oil went down by quite a bit. One good news in the oil space is that Russia's government decided to withdraw the ban on the diesel being delivered via seaports. They are continuing to have the restrictions on the gasoline exports, but at least they're letting some of it go, so it won't continue to go as high. Crude for the week went down almost 10% to 82.79. Brent, with this the international crude, went to 84.58. That's down almost 13%. Lithium prices headed to their lowest level in the last 2 years on concerns of Chinese demand. They're obviously a key ingredient in all of the batteries, especially for electric vehicles like cobalt as well. One thing on lithium, less than a year ago, the metal reached a record high. So you can see what's kind of going on with the demand for the economy overall. Tesla, by the way, dropped prices again. I'll go ahead and talk about them in just a moment. Gold and silver took an absolute beating this week as the dollar increased. The gold market went down 0.83% to 1834.10. Silver went down almost 3% to 2170. Silver, I think, is at a really good price right now. Things are so good in the precious metals market, and people are so scared of what's going on in the economy that even Costco, which is a kind of one of these warehouse big market depots, if you guys are in the Europe and don't have those, I think you guys do. It's like a Sam's Club. They started selling 1 ounce bars, and they literally can't keep up with the demand. So people are buying so much of the gold that they're having there at Costco that, they just can't make enough. They can't get enough to be able to sell people. And that's limiting the number of bars that people can buy when they come into the store. The World Gold Council as well reported on Wednesday that central banks bought 77 tons of gold in August. That's a 38% increase from July. And the World Gold Council as well said that the last 3 months, central banks bought 219 tons of gold. I always tell you guys, pay attention to what they do, not what they say. Why would central banks be buying so much gold right now? The financial and banking news, the Reserve Bank of India decided to keep their rates the same, which is at 6.5%, in line with expectations, but it's a lot higher than what their target is, meaning that inflation is still higher than what they want it to be. And as of October 5th, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged 7.49%, which is the highest in 23 years. The mortgage applications have dropped to their lowest level since 1996. So the consumer spending in the United States, if it's almost 70%, the housing market, I remember the numbers I looked. Don't take my word on this. If you guys have some different numbers or the numbers for sure, write them in the comments. But I believe the housing market is about 17%. So between the almost 70% of consumer spending and now the housing market, which is 17%, we're talking almost 90% of the economy is not doing well at all. So let's keep our eyes open because things don't seem to be doing very well. Communist Canada has issued another blow to free speech. Now they're forcing podcast platforms to register with the government. Can you imagine? And Slovakia voted a pro-Russian and anti-liberal election winner, Robert Fico. Looks like they're going to team up with a place like Hungary. It seems like the shift is starting to take place when it comes to Ukraine. If you guys didn't hear, I have this on the political news, but U.S. House Rep Speaker Kevin McCarthy was ousted as a speaker. This was due to the fact that when he first initially was plotting to take the speakership, he made an agreement with the Republicans to not send more money to Ukraine. There was a bunch of deals that they agreed to, but then they submitted the agreement for the shutdown of the government, the spending bill, and he made a backdoor deal with the Democrats to include more funding from Ukraine without telling the Republicans. So that's basically why he lost the speakership. And now in Europe, for example, things are starting to shift as well because Hungary, places like Poland, and now Slovakia that voted a pro-Russian president, they're starting to say no more money for these corrupt bastards in Ukraine either. That's the political news. Economic news. The Port of New York and New Jersey cargo volumes have collapsed by 21% in August. Remember the consumer spending. There's these huge ports that import a lot of stuff for consumers. So if consumers aren't spending money, that means that the economy is not going to be doing very well very soon. China's factory activity in September expanded for the first time since April. U.S. manufacturing sector broke a 9-month streak of contracting, but barely expanded in August. And U.S. private employers added 89,000 jobs in September, far below the 180,000 in August and 160,000 added in expected by economists, And U.S. services sector slowed in September as new orders fell to a 9-month low. So notice that we had a little bit of good news, but overall not very good news when it comes to the economy. In corporate news, Airbnb shares, Airbnb. What did I say? Airbnb. Airbnb shares fell almost 7% on Tuesday. Now that a KeyBank Capital Markets downgraded its stock, it looks like a lot of people are talking about Airbnb losing that post-pandemic travel boom. So they're probably not going to be doing very well very soon. And Tesla, they went up after reporting their deliveries. They weren't as good as Q1 and Q2, but they said that it was just from factory maintenance and things along those lines, and they're still expecting to deliver the same amount of cars overall this year. They did drop prices again. So it looks like some banking analysts are saying that it's not going to affect their bottom line, because if they sell more cars at the lower profit margin, they're still going to make the same amount of money. Tesla reported just a touch over 435,000 cars delivered in Q3. U.S. automakers failed to make an agreement with the workers' union. This is now the third week in a row. Increased labor costs are likely going to expand to 25 to 30% over the next 4 years, which, remember, Elon Musk said that it's going to bankrupt the auto companies. Smile Direct Club, which is the dentist office in the United States, went into Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And the other big electric maker, which is focused on SUVs and trucks, which is Rivian, went down, had its worst day on record. In a percentage, it went almost 23% after they announced that they were going to issue more $1.5 billion in convertible notes. So it doesn't seem like they're doing very well either. Trade news: Germany, fourth largest economy in the world, one of the economic powerhouses when it comes to exports, said that their August exports fell 1.2%. So notice another flag. And in technology, a new $4 billion Panasonic battery plant in Kansas. The irony of this is ironic. The irony is ironic. Is that how you say that in English? The plant is going to need its own coal power plant to run. So outside of the environmental destruction when they mine lithium and, the 4-year-olds, unfortunately, that are mining cobalt in the Congo, where the majority of the cobalt comes from in the world, to make our batteries for EVs, for electric vehicles, they are going to have to, supposedly, coal is so bad for the environment that they're going to have to make their own plant to power this Panasonic battery plant with their own coal plant, because it takes so much energy. And on top of that, in 10 or 15 years, the toxic batteries are going to have to be dumped somewhere, because, electric vehicles are so great for the environment. And on top of that, just have to throw this in here. It's a conspiracy, Marcello. The carbon footprint of making the EVs, the electric vehicles, according to a report by Volvo, it takes more carbon footprint to make a battery, to make an electric vehicle, than it does to drive and make a gas-powered car for 7 years. So if it doesn't help the environment as much as a gas-powered car, then what are they doing it for? Dun, 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 dun. U.S. nationwide emergency test on October 4th. Hopefully you guys got that test. One of the things that was really ironic is that on October 3rd, Russia had their first ever major nationwide exercise as well. So it kind of seems like things are escalating here. Meta Platforms, which owns Facebook, made an agreement with Ray-Ban to create and develop new pair of sunglasses that have video recorders inside them. So you can record, make calls, and a lot more. The battery is going to last supposedly 36 hours unless they kill the battery like Apple to make you buy new glasses. And they also said that it can take up to 1080 high-res video, up to 60 seconds. And it's also going to have the Facebook spying on you in artificial intelligence assistants. They're going to cost $299. I thought they were pretty cool. Instead of having a camera now, you just put some glasses on, record, and do whatever you want. It's awesome. International events. EU leaders are discussing how to reform the 27-nation bloc, on how to accept new members. A lot of Eastern European members there, including Ukraine, for example. And interesting facts, family in Norway decided to start looking for an earring with a metal detector, and instead of finding the earring, they found discovered relics from Viking burials from thousands of years ago, from 1000 AD. I thought that was really interesting. World is hit by triple earthquakes, 6.7 in Papua New Guinea, Mexico 6.3, Afghanistan as well. And unfortunately, the war just broke out in Israel. The people from the Gaza Strip starting attacking Israel. Now it's back and forth. War is never good for anybody, but this may be what happens when you give a terrorist regime like Iran $6 billion. That's your news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and don't forget, the preppers were right.